What's up, man? Hector here. Before I get into today's video, I want to let you know something really quick. Oftentimes I get questions from email or Instagram, guys asking about which training program of mine would I recommend for them that they do. I usually give the recommendation. Sometimes they take action, get it, sometimes they don't. What I want to tell you is you don't need another program. Yes, I've got programs available, but what you don't need another program. What you need is a coach. And the reason I say that is because I've looked at the analytics of the Academy, and more than half, probably somewhere around 70%, people don't even log in, because I can see the progression, what they've worked through. The vast majority don't even work through the material. Okay, so you're just wasting money. And Harvard actually did a study on this during COVID, and they learned that 80% of their students, this is the collegiate level, Harvard University, 80% of their students didn't even log in to access the material. So I say that because I often get these questions, and here's what I'd recommend. Coaching. So if you don't know, we have a 16-week coaching program where we help men build stronger, leaner, more capable bodies and less time, so you can have more time to do what you enjoy. All you need is your body weight and one kettlebell. Inside, what I do is I give you the 3 essential pieces of a complete training program, which is all the strength training plans that go along with it and the ability to customize that based on your lifestyle. The second thing I give you is the actual recovery mechanism. So one of our guys' greatest concerns is training for longevity. They don't want to get injured. They've got a career. They've got a family. And so we give you a step-by-step system on how to train and how to practice mobility and flexibility that doesn't take a lot of your time, but simultaneously builds strength, conditioning, endurance, longevity. And then the third most important thing you need is coaching and a community. So we provide you with a community of other like-minded men on the same journey as yourself. You have access to me and my team to get all the support that you need to see the results that you're chasing. So in the description, I will put a link to my calendar. If you feel like this is you, if you've bought all the programs and just things aren't working, and and you can be honest with yourself that you're not using them, you're wasting money, let's set up a time to chat and see if it would make sense to work together. All right, so just wanted to get that off my chest. Let's dive into today's episode. Hey, what's up, Heart Stylers? Hector here, the Kettlebell Coach. In this video, I want to talk about the complete Kettlebell program. Now, really quick, if you're new to the channel and you don't know who I am, my name's Hector Gutierrez Jr., and for over 12.5 years, I ran one of only 2 kettlebell-only training facilities here in Texas, where we helped men and women build stronger, leaner, more capable bodies in less time, so they could do more of what they enjoy without trying to be the best at exercise. And that's going to be one of the main, maybe the underlying theme of today's video. So if that sounds like you, welcome to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications, hit subscribe if you get value out of this video. I've also got a free gift for you. It's a collection of our quick kettlebell workouts that you can do from home in your front yard. It will be the first link in the description area. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to check that out and grab your free copy. All right, so let's dive in. So if you're new to this channel, from time to time, I do mic'd up sessions like this where I just talk to you and give you my thoughts around, strength training, sometimes life in general, things I'm doing, things I'm up to, training that I'm currently doing. And then I just give you my thoughts. And sometimes it will take the whole duration of the training session. Sometimes I'll end it early. So there will be some timestamps, so if you feel like you need to jump around, feel free to do that. So really quick, I'm on day 1 of 75 hard. So I started it, I failed miserably around day 55. Actually, day 43, I failed 75 hard because I freaking read 9.5 pages and I got distracted and finished the last half page. Thought that I'd finished it. Woke up Monday morning and I was like, man, something doesn't feel right. And as I went back through everything, sure enough, I only read 9.5 pages. So that's when I failed there. Started right back over. Day 1, Made it to day 11. We went on family vacation in Utah, took the kids hiking, and I was able to maintain everything up until I think it was Friday or Saturday. And the reason why I failed there is because my time wasn't my own. I didn't get my 2 workouts in. I could have gotten them in, but they wouldn't have been 3 hours of separation. So I failed. So I just decided, you know what? I'm not going to start over, in 2 days while I'm here on vacation. And so here we are, starting over day 1. I really want to complete this again. I've completed it twice before, but I really want to tackle the Live Hard challenge. So that's where I'm at, currently. Personally, that's a challenge that I'm taking on myself. And I'm working on double 36 kilogram jerks. I've been training the jerk for pretty much 2 straight years now. My goal is to be able to do a full session with a pair of 48 kilos. Is that possible? I don't know. We'll find out. And that's what leads me into today's video. So really quick, I'm going to do my first set of jerks. These are usually the worst jerks of my entire session. They're just freaking heavy. So getting the timing down usually comes for me around set 3 or 4 is when things start coming together. So I'm doing sets of 2. Since coming back from family vacation, I taught an SFG level 1 certification in Los Angeles last week. So my training has been inconsistent. So I'm pretty much starting back over on not starting the whole program over, but I'm just moving back previous week that I'd left off. So I'm redoing day 1 of a previous week. So I'm doing sets of 2, and my goal is to hit about 19 sets in this session. Here we go. Let's see how this goes. As expected. Actually, that's probably the best first set I've ever done. Yeah, probably the best first set I've ever done. Usually the drop is not crisp. Catching the bell. Yeah, everything's just not quite as crisp. So that was probably the best first set I've ever done. Okay, the complete kettlebell program. So for context, got a message on Instagram. Gentleman was asking about one of my programs. He's like, hey man, found your page. Do you have a kettlebell program? I've been training jiu-jitsu. Here are my goals. Bang, bang, bang. Pretty much the same goals I hear all the time. I want to get stronger. I want to be resilient. I'm training jiu-jitsu. Do you have a program that can help me out? Man, these feel good. Shh. Said yes. Here's what I recommend. Good old-fashioned clean and press. So if you train jiu-jitsu, I recommend just focus on the clean and press. For me, clean and jerk's a more advanced exercise, but I highly recommend working your way up to clean and jerk. You may not be able to do it with doubles. Definitely start with singles and then work your way up from there. We do have a single to double kettlebell jerk program. So maybe I'll put that in the description area, but send it over. He looks at us like, hey man, I'm kind of cautious about, I don't know if I want to jump into one exercise. And I said, cool, understand that. Here are the reasons why I recommend it. So that's what I want to share with you today. The fitness industry is completely lost, confused, and which is why a lot of people are confused about fitness. October of 20, what are we now? We're 2024. October of 2023, I had the privilege of presenting alongside Pavel and Fabio Zunin, some of my mentors, in a seminar called Program Demystified. And where we're revealing some of our training programs, the methodology and the rationality behind them, and all the geeky stuff that goes behind programming, but then giving the attendees, like, here are the actual plans so you can have them, run them, and whatnot. So I presented on one of the programs that we take our students through in the Hardstyle Academy. And one of the things that I talked about was I put my own spin on the National Academy of Sports Medicine. They have a training methodology called the Optimum Performance Training, so the O.P.T Model. So that O.P.T model it works this way up, right? So you start with strength endurance, and then you get into hypertrophy, and then you get into maximal strength training, right? And then after that you get into power training. But the first 3 blocks are strength, and then you get into power training. Okay, so I gave my own spin. I put my own spin on that for our programs. So keep in mind that the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and even a lot of traditional training today, well, the National Academy of Sports Medicine in particular, they have a very physical therapy approach, because the doctors that founded the organization and certification are physical therapists, doctors of physical therapy. And so if you look at that O.P.T model and you take a very traditional approach, you're going to be using BOSU balls and all these stability things, working on strength endurance and strength training, and then hypertrophy, and then maximal strength. Like, it's going to take too long. So I started dissecting. I said, look, here's how we can apply kettlebells to the O.P.T model. That was basically my presentation, okay? And I actually had some instructors that teach for NASM and work and build curriculum for the NASM pull me to the side, and they're like, dude, your presentation is exactly the new message that we're trying to get out, okay? And so basically what I presented on is the nature of load. So if you look at one of the things that we teach on is rest pause, single kettlebell training. That's like step 1. And that, by its nature, is going to build strength endurance, cross body stability. That was the first level, stability training. Well, single kettlebell is going to work on stability training because you're asymmetrically loaded. So that's the nature of the load. Then as you get into strength endurance, we started talking about particular parameters within the training that promote strength endurance versus having to do 10, 15 repetitions with a super light weight, incorporating all these different exercises. Instead, I asked myself, well, why don't we just focus on the nature of the load? So instead of focusing on all these exercises, BOSU balls and things like that, stability balls, why don't we address the nature of the load, which is how do we create cross-body stability, left to right sides, how do we work on asymmetries? Well, single kettlebell training will do that. And then hypertrophy training, what if we just worked on keeping the body under tension using these particular parameters? We wouldn't have to add all these exercises. What if we wanted to do maximal strength training? Double kettlebells is maximum strength training because it's twice the load. And then power training, well, that's where, if you think of power training, most people, quite frankly, aren't ready for power training. What is power training? Plyometrics, sprinting, box jumps, that kind of stuff. That's very high skill. And most of the people that we work with in the academy and at my gym just weren't ready for that kind of training. So the beauty about kettlebells is they're sub-maximal plyometric training. So you don't have to leave the ground. I'm going to do a plyometric exercise right here. That's a plyometric exercise, but I didn't have to leave the ground. Here's another plyometric exercise. I didn't have to leave the ground. So the nature of the exercise, you don't have to train that way. You don't have to use all these other exercises. But if you use kettlebells, you can get the same benefits, okay? And so that was essentially my presentation. So bring it back to the complete program. So this gentleman was hesitant on, man, what do I do about, you know, I know a complete kettlebell program or a complete program should include, you know, rows and pull-ups and push and pull and hinge, and it should incorporate these things. I said, yes, that's a good question. But here's the thing. If you train jiu-jitsu, if you're a busy parent and you've got a lot of responsibilities, you don't have the time, or nor do you want to invest that time. Let's just put it that way. You have the time, because I did a whole lesson or a whole video on time. We have time, we make time for what's important. And if you're a parent, what's more important is raising your family, okay? Building your career, doing those kind of things, not trying to be the best at exercise. That's what I always say in the beginning of my video, is the ability to do all these things without trying to be the best at exercise. Your goal is not to become the best at exercise. So you don't want to commit that time to training for an hour a day, breaking the body up into different body parts. That's not the people that we work with. The people that we work with are just busy parents, you know, corporate professionals, and like, I want to invest the minimum, what's the minimum effective dose, but I can still get those same benefits. And that's how we approach things with the nature of load. So in the corner here somewhere, I did a video on the jerk called the 4 extensions. And you're gonna, in there I go more into detail of the nature of the load. But if you train, where I'm going with this is, the complete kettlebell program should just include 1 grind exercise and 1 ballistic exercise. What does that mean? That you may not have heard that language before. A grind exercise is a slow movement. Okay, so pressing, squatting, deadlifting, pull up, some kind of slow movement. I recommend the press. And then some kind of ballistic exercise. That's a dynamic, submaximal plyometric exercise. Clean, swing, snatch, jerk, something like that. So mine is a ballistic. And the reason why I'm not doing grind, for me personally, is because my elbows suck. From 24 plus years of training jiu-jitsu, guys trying to break my arms. I can press, but I get stuck here at the 90-degree angle on my left side, and it's just uncomfortable, and I'd rather not press through that. So anytime tension builds up here at this 90-degree angle, it's just uncomfortable. And so I like to skip that. So I would rather train the push press or the jerk, swings and snatches, because I don't have to grind through that mid-range movement. So that's why I'm currently doing that. That's why I'm following this program. But for you, if you don't have 24 years worth of guys trying to break your arms, you should be fine to press, you know. So clean and press, okay? So grind, ballistic. And if you look at the nature of the exercise, if you train it right, which is how we teach our students to do, if you train the clean and press and even work your way to learning the clean and jerk, you can commit to clean and press or clean and jerk only and get all the benefits. Because if we look at the setup of the kettlebell while I'm working on my hip hinge, when I drive and I clean the bells, I'm working on a lower body pull. And the clean is basically a hip hinge with a row. So right, so if you think of like a row, like a pen lay row or like a kettlebell row, as soon as you hike them back and as soon as you start to drive your hips, you're pulling the bell straight up. So you're doing a row and you're training the hip hinge. And then with respect to the jerk or the push press, once you catch the bells, you're now carrying the bells. So we've got 7 fundamental movement patterns. You've got push, pull, hinge, squat, carry, gait, and rotation, right? So those are your 7 movement patterns, okay? So the jerk hits like 6, all 7 if you do the split jerk, all right? So now I've got my lower body pull, I've got my hinge, I've got my row, okay? I've got my carry, which is holding in the rack position, I've got my squat. Even though it's a quarter squat, it's a squat. Most people can't squat because they've got knee problems, right? History of knee issues. So most people can't squat, but you can get that little quarter squat out of the push press and the jerk. Then you're getting triple extension and even quadruple extension because you have to extend your thoracic, which reverses the damage of sitting. Okay. Then you're pushing and you're getting your overhead press. So you're hitting like almost every single movement pattern with one exercise. And so to me, that would make a complete kettlebell program. Yes, you can definitely add chin-ups and pull-ups and squats. You can add all these things, but as I mentioned, if you are a busy parent, corporate professional, maybe you train jiu-jitsu and you're a parent, I recommend looking for the minimum effective dose. It doesn't mean you're being lazy, you're just being efficient. How can I get the same benefits by doing less? And that's one of our core principles of the Academy, is a less is more approach to training. So friends, I've been training the clean and jerk almost exclusively on and off since 2013. What is that? 11 years. Exclusively for the last 2 years, because I've got this goal of training with beasts. For a full session with the beast, not just like, oh, I did a press with the beast, or I did one set of front squats. Like, no, I want to be able to train with the beast. So ask yourself, if someone could work up to training regularly with a 48 kilo bell, I think they've checked all the boxes of a complete kettlebell program. Mosquitoes are out. Man, these jerks feel good today. Very surprising. Hey, imagine that. I'm feeling better. I feel like I'm performing better, and I've taken 2 weeks off. Sometimes the complete kettlebell program is taking rest off. Imagine that. Yeah, they feel amazing today. Let's look a little further upstream. What do I mean by that? I wrote an article for Strong First on 5 upstream strategies. I've even talked about it here on the channel. Basically, what are some things that I can do further upstream that will have a bigger impact on the downstream results? And we don't want to think of like prevention, because prevention is more reactive, right? Believe it or not, it's more reactive. So how can I think more upstream? I was teaching in Los Angeles with my mentor, Brett Jones. Shout out to Brett. And I taught the clean and press. I love teaching that exercise. And at dinner, the dinner before, Pavel and I and our other colleague, Brian Robinson, shout out to Brian Robinson, good friend of mine, we were talking, and Pavel's like, hey, what are you guys up to? What's your training? What's new? What's going on? What are you guys up to? And I told him what I was doing. And then he asked everybody, and he asked Brett. He said, Brett, what are some takeaways from your training? And Brett said something that's very profound that I realize I've been doing, but sometimes you don't realize you're doing these things. He said something very profound. I'm going to tell you here right after this set. So he said this. He said, well, Pavel, 3 things: consistency, density, intensity. That's what I've learned. He says the fitness, this is why, in a way, I almost can't stand the fitness industry. He goes, because that's why I said it's confused. He said, the fitness industry gets those backwards. Everybody's looking for intensity, density, but then because of those 2, they fail to be consistent. He goes, if you flip it on its head and you focus on consistency, then density, than intensity, you're going to get better results out of your training. And I think if we look further upstream, beyond exercises, reps and sets, if we look further upstream, it's consistency, density, intensity. What can you be consistent with? The more moving parts we have, rows and pull-ups and deadlifting and doing all these things, the more components we need to add because we think we're making a complete kettlebell program, it's going to be difficult to be consistent with. So the fewer moving parts which exist in your routine, the more simple the plan is to execute. And the more simple something is, the more repeatable it becomes. And repeatability leads to consistency. So once you've been training something consistently enough, now you can start incorporating density. And density is doing more work in the same amount of time or the same work in less time. That's density. And that's what I've been doing in my jerk protocol. So I've been training pretty much exclusively the jerk for over 2 years now. It's the only exercise I'm doing. One exercise, well, it's really two, clean and jerk, two exercises, and I can repeat it day in and day out. That's why you see the majority of my videos lately are me in my front yard just doing the jerk, or sometimes I'll do clean and jerk, which is rare, but right now I'm just focusing on jerk, okay? It's simple. I can repeat that day in, day out. Doesn't take a lot of thinking, a lot of guessing. And I know I've just got essentially one exercise to do, and I do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I've been doing 30 minutes, 36 minutes, 44 minutes for going on 2 years now. Now I'm starting to work on density. And so example would be, I'm repeating this session from a previous week that I failed. Is now what I'm focusing on is density this week. And so that looks like this. I did, let's say I did 16 sets in my last session. Well, I'm going to try to do 20% more on my density week, which is I'm repeating this week. So I would have to do 19. And I've been talking a lot, so now I'm going to do set number 9 right here. Up. 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 And then after you do density and you've been training that long enough, now you can think about incorporating intensity. And by intensity, we mean increasing the weight. So for me, I'm on this double 48 kilo kettlebell journey and I'm training with 36s. So for me, I started with sets of 1. I did sets of 1 for an entire week. Then week 2, I looked back at week 1 and I said, okay, I did 19 sets. This week I got to do plus 20%, whatever that is. Let's say 24 in the same time frame, 30 minutes. Same thing for day 2. I do the same thing for day 2 and day 3. Once I've done that, then I go up in volume first. I leave the weights the same. Maintaining one of the principles of program design is the continuity of the training process. Continuity of the training process, think of that as consistency. That's the consistency in your training, okay? That's principle number 1. So keeping the weight the same, keeping the time the same throughout the week, keeping the volume the same throughout the week. Do that for a period of time and then go up. I'm going up to sets of 2, repeating the process. 30 minutes, 36 minutes, 44 minutes. Come back to week 4 now of the training. Week 4 is density. Okay, I did sets of 2. I did, 19 sets. Now I got to do 24 sets. This is all, I'm just sharing with you what I have. I'm trying to remember from memory because I have it all written down, planned out. But once I get to a certain time of consistency, I'm going to incorporate that first 40 kilo weight somewhere probably in the middle of the week. Keep 36, 40, 36, run that. Then eventually run the 40 kilo at multiple, right? After I do sets of 2, then sets of 3. Once I complete sets of 3 and I recycle everything, then I'll incorporate that 40 kilo bell for the first time and just slowly working that 40 into where I'm doing the 40 with everything I was doing with the 36, and then eventually the 44s, and I'm doing everything that I was doing with the 36, and eventually the 48s. So that's the long-term vision, and that's going to take a long time, and most people can't stay consistent with something like that. but it's something that I know that I can stick with. It doesn't take a whole lot of my mental energy. I pull out my bells, get everything out here, I do my jerks for 30 minutes, and then I'm done. Wednesday, I do my jerks for 36 minutes, and then I'm done. Friday, 44 minutes, and then I'm done. And friends, the results are amazing. And if you want results in life, you need to stay consistent with something, and you need to do it long enough. And then once you've done it long enough, you can push harder. Then once you push harder, you can push even harder by increasing the weight. All right? So if you're asking me what is a complete kettlebell program, it would start there. If we look higher upstream would be get something that you know you can be consistent with, train it long enough to where you can then incorporate density to it. Then once you've incorporated density and you've kind of earned that, one of our mottos in the academy is earn your training. Once you've earned that, then you can go up in weight. But the fitness industry has it completely backwards. Intensity first, then density, and then what happens is they break, something happens, and then they're no longer consistent with the training, and then they move to something else. And likely because either pushing too hard, incorporating too many exercises. And that's the second thing for complete kettlebell program. Choose an exercise like the clean and press, clean and jerk, work your way up to clean and jerk. And the nature of the load there is knowing how to train, single kettlebell, then incorporating double kettlebell, knowing how to incorporate time under tension. This is all the stuff that we teach our students inside of the academy how to do. Step by step, we give them the system on how to do it. We coach them on how to do it. So to me, in my opinion, in my experience coaching for over a decade now, that is the complete kettlebell program. So that's all I got for you today. I'm going to finish up my session. I've got 9 more sets to do, and then I'm going to get started with my day. So if this video helped you out, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the like button, turn on notifications so you're notified of our next video. I'm usually publishing these on Mondays. If you've got questions, drop them in the comments below. And be sure to download your free resource, your 4-week strength program, which covers everything that I just talked about today. They're just in smaller training sessions, so 15-minute sessions, because it's simple and it's repeatable, and that's what's going to lead to your long-term progress. So I appreciate you watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.